I used to sell full time. I used to sell about a house a week, so about 50 properties a year. So I dealt with lots of buyers and took lots of offers. So I'm going to give you some advice on how to negotiate to secure a property. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is probably going to be a bit of a surprise, and there's a little bit of a trick to it. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get yourself a finance pre-approval from a bank. Now the trick is this. Not very many brokers like doing those. They don't like doing them because they're very time consuming. So a broker instead will just look at your finances and go, yeah, you should be right. Just go and get a property under contract and I'll process your application. If your broker is saying that, seriously, unfortunately, you need a new broker. You need a broker that's going to do a proper pre-approval with a bank where you get a little letter. You get a letter from the bank that says, hey, congratulations, we're going to lend you this much money. Now, I have a broker that'll do that for you. Her name's Julie. She's very good. We've sent her lots of clients that have previously said they couldn't get finance, and she's sorted them out. If you want her details, shoot me an email, send me a text, and I'll flick you her number. Now, don't let a broker trick you and go, you don't need that, that's too much, don't worry, you'll be fine. Nah, you won't be fine. So I see too many times where people will say, oh yeah, my broker said I could lend 500, and they make an offer and they can't get finance. I see it all the time. So that's the first thing. The second thing is make your offer on a sales contract. So lots of agents can't be bothered putting a sales contract together, but you need to insist. You need to say to them, no, don't take my offer verbally. I need you to put my offer on a sales contract, please. So you really need to get it written up on a contract. Don't be worried about a contract. There's lots of ways of getting out of a contract. So you can get out using the cooling off period, you can get out under finance, you can get out under building and pest. So just put it on a contract. The next thing is have a solicitor in mind already, because when you go to contract, on the contract it says, who's your solicitor? And you want to say, oh yeah, I've got a solicitor, my solicitor is this. So you want to go to the sales agent and you're saying, I've got a pre-approval, here's my letter, I've got a solicitor, here's my solicitor. It all gets taken very seriously there. The next thing is have a big deposit. I've got people that think they're being smart, or they've been told by their solicitor, oh no, you don't need to offer a big deposit, offer $2,000. Don't do that. If you're going to offer a small $2,000 deposit, you're not going to be taken very seriously. You need to offer a big deposit. You need to offer 10% of the purchase price. Now, where are you going to get that from? Well, if you don't have 10% of the purchase price, how are you going to borrow the money anyway? So you need to offer a big deposit. The deposit is 100% refundable if you can't get finance. So you should be fine with that. Now, the next thing is, I made a little list here. Waive the cooling off. Now, I can explain this to you. I tell all my buyers, whilst there's a cooling off, don't ever pull out on the cooling off, because when you pull out on the cooling off, the sellers can charge you about $2,000. So I say to all my buyers, if you get cold feet, don't use the cooling off, because they could potentially charge you about $2,000. Instead, terminate under the finance clause. With privacy rights and everything, it's very hard for anybody to find out if you can or can't get finance, so you can just terminate under the finance clause. So if you say, I want to make an offer and I'm going to waive my cooling off, then wow, your offer is suddenly looking fantastic. The next thing is, consider this. Consider not doing a building and pest. Now, I say this with a little clause in that a lot of sellers these days have a building and pest done. If the seller has done their own building and pest, use that. And how you do it is this: you get a copy of the building and pest that the seller's done, and you ring the inspector. You ring the inspector and you explain that you're buying the property, you have his building and pest, and you have some questions, and go through those questions with the inspector and get some clarity around them, and they'll put your mind at ease. But if a building and pest has been done and you cannot have it in the clause, then you need to do that. Now, if you're going to have a building and pest in the sales contract clause, don't make it 14 days, make it 7. You only need 7 days to do a building and pest. An inspector can be there in 3 days. He'll give the report to you in 4 days, and you've still got 3 days up your sleeve to look at it and read it and decide what you want to do. But don't have your building and pest clause longer than 7 days. Okay. If you've got to sell your property, don't mention it. Don't say, oh, I want to make my offer subject to my sale of my property. Instead, make your offer slightly less and make it just subject to finance, and do a 21-day finance clause. Because guess what? No bank is going to lend you the money if your house isn't sold. But make your offer a little bit lower first. And the reason for that is what will happen is they'll come back and they'll say, okay, they're really excited about your offer. It's a little bit low. They said they're happy to accept it if you're able to come back and pay X, Y, Z. Now you know what the seller is prepared to take. And you can then say, well, I'm not prepared to pay what they're asking, but I can come close and I'm prepared to pay X, Y, Z, but I need it to be subject to the sale of my house. So if you go initially with a lower offer just with finance, they're going to look at it fairly seriously. But if you go in with a low offer and it's subject to the sale, the seller's just going to go, no, not interested at all, tell them to go away. And you kind of lost that whole negotiation flow. So that's a little bit of a trick. The next thing is, don't make your offer too low that it's just cheeky and insulting. That really, I know that people want a bargain. I'll tell you a funny story real quick. The house I'm in now, I've been there for about 6 years. We said to the seller, what would you like? How much are you looking for? And he said whatever it was. And we said, okay, great, we'll pay that. We just paid what he wanted. You know why? Because we're in the industry, been doing it for 20 years, and it all works out in the end. Well, I'm in the industry, I'm not looking for bargains. I'm just looking for a house to live in. So it's not like, oh, I've got a bargain. Just like, you know what? Real estate goes up all the time. You're going to get, in 5 years' time, you're going to look back and go, poor, that was a bargain, even though you paid what they wanted. So what was I saying? Don't make your offer too cheeky. Now, if you are going to make a really low offer, you need to substantiate it. So find some evidence. Look, I'm basing this offer, which the owners might perceive as low, but I'm basing it on this hard facts on what other properties are sold in the area and for how much. Based on that, it seems to me that property is worth about that. If you're going to make a low offer, you need to substantiate it. But get the agent's help. You know what? The agent is working for the seller, but he's working for you too. He is the person in the middle that needs to mediate. So say to the agent, what do you think I need to pay to buy this property? And when the agent says probably $750, say, okay, Mr. Agent, and what have you based that on? What evidence do you have that shows that that's what the property is worth? So get the agent to help with this process. Move fast. I get so many people that say to me, we're going to think about it, and they almost think they're being smart and they're being the I'm not that interested type of buyer, and they're going to think about it, and guess what? That afternoon we sell it to somebody else. We don't play buyers off each other. So if a buyer comes to me and says, I want to make an offer, I don't go, great, and then ring around a bunch of other buyers and say, you want to make an offer too? I just respect that buyer who's come forward, and I work with that one buyer. So people that want to be a little bit smart about it and be a bit slow, they're going to miss out. They're going to miss out, and I see it all the time. They get really upset, and they're like, why didn't you call me? It's like, well, why would I have called you? This guy wants to buy it, and why? And if you made an offer, why would I call that buyer? So don't muck around. I see it all the time, people miss out. So look, I hope that's helped you a little bit. If you've got any questions about making offers on properties that I'm not even involved with, give me a call, shoot me an email.